Hi, this is Matt Coddington with MyMobileVille, and this is a look at Verizon's version of the Samsung Galaxy Note 2. This device kind of blurs that line between a phone and a tablet. Some people will use the word phablet, but it's got a 5.5-inch screen, and it's a beast in your hand. But when you consider the fact that it's really a tablet that just happens to make phone calls, it's a tablet on the small side, rather than think of it as a large phone. I'm going to go over some of the hardware and then we'll look at the software, but first I just want to give you kind of a size comparison. I'm going to situate the Note 2 right there, and then I am going to put a Galaxy Nexus right beside it so that you can see already that it just dwarfs the Galaxy Nexus. And then I get out the itty bitty iPhone and put my wife's iPhone there beside so you can see. Now of course if I take the iPhone and put it on top, it's a bit of a joke. That this is the iPhone 4S, by the way, that the entire body of the iPhone sits inside of the screen. I'll turn on the screen for just a moment so you can see it light up. Okay, yeah. So the entire body of the iPhone, almost the same thing with the Nexus, is that you can see that it's just about the size of the entire screen, the viewing area on the Note. But to give it some context as well, to show, here is the Nexus 7 beside it. So then there is a 7-inch tablet, and then the Galaxy Note 2, Galaxy Nexus, and an iPhone. So it all depends on what floats your boat. I will say that this device has really caught my eye. I'm definitely sold on this size device. It's very, very thin, and so that while it is large and one-handed operation, no, for some things it's not one-handed, but that's why it's got a stylus for you to be able to do things with the stylus, as well as that it is intended to be used more like a tablet, and you wouldn't use a tablet with one hand. So that said, those are the kind of considerations that if there's going to be some people that are going to look at this and go, you know what, way too large. They'd rather have a phone this size, fine, go for it. Once you're using this and enjoy the screen size, the screen real estate that it has, and the super fast functionality, gorgeous screen, etc., then if you're willing to deal with that larger size, you really have the best of both worlds of a very tablet-like device that also happens to be your phone. So let me go into some of the hardware. I will say that the Verizon device of any of the Note 2 devices that are sold is definitely the most branded one. We've got the Verizon logo on the button on the front, and then the Verizon logo actually even larger than the font for the Galaxy Note 2 logo. We've got that big old 4G LTE, but not really an issue for those people, at least on the back, not for an issue if someone's going to put this inside of a case. I prefer to carry my devices naked, I've said that before, so the logos don't really bother me, although that it's just like, gosh, that's something, putting that right there on the button. There are decals if you wanted to cover that. If it was that big of an issue, I understand that they sell a little decal that you can put over top of the button. But nonetheless, that is just Verizon's marketing there. So it does have the one hardware button in the center, and then when you do actually have the device on, let's turn on for a moment, that you can see that it does illuminate the back button and the menu button, and then they'll turn off if I give it a moment. Then you should see that they'll go out and you don't see them. Yeah, so you can see that it's just that brushed metal look. I've got the 3.5mm jack on the top, and down in the bottom we've got the micro USB. Now I know that I recently reviewed the Droid DNA, and I commented about how I don't particularly care for there being the power on the bottom and the audio coming out of the top. It's exacerbated by the fact that this is such a large device. When I did put it in my mount in the car, I actually had to move my mount further down because this device being as large as it was, by the time I was putting the audio jack in, then it was hitting the windshield, so I had to move the device physically down some more so that I could stick that in. My preference, I would really wish that the audio jack was down at the bottom in the same vicinity as the power, but not really a deal breaker. On the side, got the volume on the left and the power on the right hand side. Now as compared to on my Galaxy Nexus, the power is, as you can see right there where my finger is, right up there. Now they wisely, if you're holding the device, have moved the power button down so it's right there where my finger is rather than be further on up, because again, trying to keep in mind that yes, it is a large device, but you are going to hold it in one hand and you need to be able to control. So you can see my thumb is on the rocker for the volume, and then now my index finger is on the power button. So then he's able to control it comfortably that way. So then I'll talk more when I fire up the device and talk about some of the software things, that there are some solutions that Samsung has provided for some one-handed operation to make things easier, and I'll show that, but we'll get to that when I actually turn it on. Wanted to pop the case here, and there's a little slot that's up here near the top where you can get your finger underneath and take off the back cover. And it's got a whopping 3100 milliamp battery. I tested this thing since Friday, so then really been running it through its paces through the weekend, and boy, this battery would just go and go and go. On Saturday, I had a Google Plus hangout with my sister for 90 minutes. My wife and I talked to my sister, full-on video, talking with my sister on Google Plus Hangout, and I went from 90% battery to 74% battery, so I only lost 16% in that 90 minutes of having full screen video playing. Now, I did have the screen on auto bright, not full bright, so then of course that helps, but I still was very impressed, because I guarantee that if I had done that same 90 minutes, and I haven't really benchmarked it, but if I did that on my Galaxy Nexus, I guarantee that I probably would have almost killed the battery with it just being that continuous 90 minutes of video. And I will say I was on Wi-Fi as well, so that helps as far as with power consumption. So anyway, so the battery is there, and then you can see where the SIM card would go, and then there is a slot for there to be a micro SD card, so you can expand the memory on the device. I love this feature on phones. I hope that it doesn't go away entirely. I'm glad that Samsung still believes in having that expandable storage, just so that you have the option, is the way I think about it. And if you don't care about that, there are other devices like the Droid DNA, etc., that don't have expandable storage, and if you're okay with that and you just can solely use the cloud, that's cool. But I like the fact that if someone did want to beef it on up and add more onboard storage, then you could do that with that slot. So thanks to them having that on the with the removable back and the slot there to be able to do that. The screen on this is just really gorgeous. Again, I don't know if I've got a, oh, I had a notification coming on in. Didn't know if it was going to be a phone call. So there's other devices that have very nice screens. My wife's iPhone, she's actually got it, I think, kind of on kind of a dim setting, but nonetheless, I mean, you just look at that screen real estate. That anymore, when I'm holding this and suddenly I hold something as I say, as small as my Galaxy Nexus, and if I take the Galaxy Nexus and put the iPhone over top of it, you can see the size-wise that it's, you know, much, much smaller than my Galaxy Nexus. But now I hold my Nexus as compared to this Note, and my Nexus feels very small. But I am fine with holding this. The thinness of it, it's got a good feel. So even though that it is large, I tell you, just having that screen real estate is just gorgeous. As far as when you go to look at something, you know, just look at the amount of more screen that there is to that, and just the information you see. When this is in my mount in the car, I was able to see, be it if it was a map or even if just something popped up on the screen and you wanted to glance on up and see it. I think that's a safeness issue. You know, you're able to see the information that's on the screen. If it was you're using turn-by-turn navigation, that you could see the information displayed on the screen that much better, because this isn't at arm's length when it's in a car mount. You know, it's going to be quite a distance away up there on the windshield or whatever the case might be. Okay, so I want to talk about the one-handed operation stuff I was talking about, which basically takes and gives you the option to have things shrunk down and brought over to either the left or the right, depending on which hand that you're going to use. I'll show you where you can change those settings. Is we go in here to one-handed operation, and you can do it with the keypad and the in-call buttons, the Samsung keyboard, calculator, and the unlock pattern. Now I don't use the unlock pattern, but the others could come in handy. So I'll give you an example here, that if I do a search, so I bring up the keyboard, you can see that it brought it so that if I was holding the device in the right hand, it shrunk the keyboard down and put it so it's all in a nice thumbable, reachable area. If I want it on this side, I hit the little arrow, now it's shifted over to this side. So quite a nice way of taking advantage of the fact that the screen is large, so then you bring it on over, shrink it, make it accessible. I'll show with like the calculator as well. You can see then the calculator, instead of being a big full screen kind of deal, I suddenly hit the arrow, and now I've got all the numbers, all the buttons I'm able to reach with my thumb and take advantage of that area. So let me see how the numbers look up there. Yeah, so you can see that it's definitely, and I can hit back and the minus and the multiply, etc. with ease. And then the other one is if you were in a call. Let me make sure what I've got displayed on my phone first. I don't want to show a phone number. Okay. So then you can see again, so then there is the dial pad. Everything is brought on over, and if I tap on this side, if I happen to be holding it this way, then it's accessible that way. So that's a very cool feature. There's some other things in the phone that I wish had this same kind of capability. Or speaking of reach, is that these 4 icons, you can change what is in the launcher here, but you can't move where the apps one is. I wish that you could move the apps one, because right now, as I hold this device this way, I can't reach the apps thing comfortably. Now, if I really make it a stretch and I reach on over, then I could. But for me to hit and open up the apps tray, I really have to use my right hand to be able to do that. I wish that you had the option to be able to move that on over. And obviously you could put a different kind of skin, be it Launcher Pro or that kind of thing, but it also takes away, then you're losing the functionality of S Note and some of the other things that are built into the OS. Even with the device on, I pull it on out, it launches S Note right away, ready for you to be able to take a note if you want. So if I go to just create note and I just say a new note here, and it's ready for me to just start to do whatever I might do with a note. And if you just wanted to take, you could do recording, etc. There's a lot of apps that do this kind of functionality, but it's cool that this is integrated in. And I'm not going to go in great depth of a demo of how this part actually works, but it is cool that it's built into the OS. So as soon as you pull the stylus on out, and speaking of, or actually I call it stylus, S Pen is the correct word for it. And there's other cool functionality to the S Pen to where it's kind of hard to see. But when you get close to the screen, and actually that's not, let me put it over something where you can see, yeah. Also, you can see like a little dot, almost like a laser pointer, a little dot starts to show up. Yep. That the device detects that the pen is close, that the digitizer is close. And on certain things, you hold your mouse, hold your cursor over it, and it brings up for detail. And I'll show you some other instances to where that does it as well. So you can see that here's a multi thing of notes. Well, then whichever one you wanted to tap, then you select that one, and that's the one that comes on up, which is cool. It allows me to be able to turn pages on this as well. So if I go back on out just to the main screen, and let me go to calendar. Where's my calendar here? Alright, and if I wanted to look at anything that's on a particular day, as soon as I hold my mouse, sorry, I keep calling it the mouse, but I hold the S Pen over top, then it shows what all the detail is on the calendar there. So that's a pretty cool function. So my final thoughts on the Galaxy Note 2, all I can say is, personally, this is going to be my next device. I really like the Galaxy Nexus. It's been a killer device. But this screen is just gorgeous. I love the size of it. It's thin. It's hardly any heavier than my Galaxy Nexus, amazingly enough. Killer battery. It's just, this is a total package device. Instead of having this, I'll now just carry this and have everything I need. And if I can't do it on this, I'll probably be running a full-on computer. So that's my look at the Samsung Galaxy Note 2 on Verizon. This is Matt Coddington with MyMobileVille. Have a good day.